There's 6 cameras, there's horses everywhere, and Kevin's just like fully in the scene, but at the same time, he's supporting the work of those 6 camera operators, and it's an incredible thing. It's like kung fu. I don't know how he does it. He's incredible.
When we met a couple years ago, you were auditioning for Yellowstone. Can you talk about that process? And by the way, if you were nervous, you wore it well.
That's so nice because I was terrified. I had flown. I was in Budapest shooting The Alienist, a TNT show, and my agents were like, "Hey, we have they want to see you again. That Taylor wants to meet you. You gotta go to Park City, Utah." And I was in Budapest, so I flew 18 hours or something for an audition. I flew across the whole country to come here for basically a 10-minute audition. And when I first met you, my first experience in the beautiful Utah Film Studios, I was sitting on a couch after having flown across the whole planet to meet Taylor Sheridan and to act for about 35 seconds to determine whether or not I would get this opportunity, which has changed my life forever. Yeah. So I was very afraid. So I'm glad it didn't show. At least that's an important skill, I think, is to be terrified and anxious and frightened on the inside, and to just sort of look super normal on the outside, like right now.
In the past, you have played roles of some pretty bad guys. Do you struggle playing roles of people you wouldn't necessarily like in real life?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I play a lot of bad guys. I play a lot of there was like a 2-year period where I was exclusively playing domestic terrorists, just back to back to back. And it's a funny thing. It's I think that acting is so much about empathy, and acting is so much about compassion and about trying to understand anyone's motives and what sort of drives anyone. And that's an important skill in the world, I think, too, because you can't just write people off as evil. No one is unambiguous. No one is unambiguously evil. People are shaped by their circumstances, and they're shaped by the conditions in which their selves are developed. And so I think that playing bad guys is an opportunity to sort of explore that empathy and to try to understand why somebody would do shit that I, Jefferson, find appalling or inexcusable. To say, why is that person doing that? What circumstances led to the sort of development of this need that they have to do bad guy stuff,
Do you prefer to play roles that are different or closer to your personality?
Man, I wish I had any choice whatsoever. I'm at a stage in my career where with most actors where it's you audition for everything, and the ones that you get, you're super grateful for, and you do. I don't often get to ask myself the question, what am I interested in? Because very few people do in the world get to ask themselves, what am I really personally most interested in? You sort of learn to be interested in and invest in the opportunities that you get, So it's been really fun for me to play parts that are really distant from me, and it's been really fun for me to play parts that are closer to who I am as a person. And I think you look for, in all roles or opportunities, you look for the ways to bring that person outside, who is outside of you, into yourself, and to sort of find the intersection between yourself and that person, So Jimmy on Yellowstone grew up under profoundly different circumstances than I did, but over the course of the last 3 years, where we intersect has been sort of really fun to explore. We're similar in a lot of ways and different in a lot of ways, and you sort of over time with any role uncover those intersections and uncover the places where you and the character kind of sync up and are parallel for a little bit,
You're from a small town in Iowa. Are you the most popular person from your town?
No, This is crazy. There's an actor named Alex Morph. Hey, Alex, what's up, man? Who is better at acting than me and has always been steps ahead of me. And we went to the same high school in a town with like 5,000 people. So Alex Morph, in a lot of ways, has always eclipsed me, and I will never forgive you, Alex. Just kidding, bro. Love you. Thanks for everything. Thanks for always being an inspiration and for pushing me to keep doing this. You've always been an example of what was possible, and I've always, it's always meant the world to me as I follow in your footsteps. So thanks, bro. It's crazy though. Come on. Yeah. I'll go back to Mount Vernon and I'll be like, yeah, you may have heard of a little show called Yellowstone, and everybody will be like, hey, what's Alex up to? Have you talked to Alex lately? I'll be like, dang it. He's fine. He's doing great. He's doing lots of cool stuff. Hey, Alex.
You've done all 3 seasons of Yellowstone. How does it feel to be a series regular?
It's amazing. It's like the closest thing to like long-term employment that an actor can ever hope for. You know, like 3 years is like, wow, incredible. And it's been also like an amazing opportunity to sort of have an extended relationship with a role, but also with like a creative team and with a place and with a crew. Because at this point, you know, it feels like one big family. It's like a really coming back for the 3rd season really feels like coming home in a lot of ways to a lot of friends. And yeah, it's amazing. It's a really life-changing opportunity that I'm profoundly grateful for, you know? Yeah, and it all started right here. It all started in an office, like a story and 50 yards that way, you know? Yeah.
If music played every time Jimmy entered a scene, what would be his theme song?
Oh my God, great question. Wow. It'd be something kind of goofy. I want to say it'd be like badass, but let's be honest. You know what I mean? It'd be like like the clown car, like, you know what I mean? And he'd trip coming through the doorway every time. He's a goofball.
Who is the toughest guy at the ranch?
Toughest guy at the ranch for me, dude. Are you kidding? Jefferson is the toughest guy at the ranch. Jimmy's not, but I am. Just kidding. Don't hurt me, Cole Hauser. It's definitely Cole Hauser.
Cole the toughest in the show and on set?
There's a lot of tough guys on this show. This show has like a sort of unprecedented number of tough guys. So like picking between them is just going to get me beat up by somebody. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to play favorites in that way. There's a lot of really tough guys on this set. Cole is a very tough guy. Forey J. Smith, super tough guy, real life cowboy, kind of walking legend. But also like all of the wranglers who handle the animals are real cowboys. Like Denham Richards is a very tough guy in a different way, in like a bit of an Orange County way, but he's still a really tough guy. Yeah, this show is like, the cast and crew of this show is a bunch of like remarkable athletes and tough guys.
Before you joined Yellowstone, did you have any experience on horses or the ranching lifestyle?
No.
How big of a shock was that?
It was a big shock, man. I didn't know people actually wore cowboy boots. You know what I mean? Like people really wear them. I thought it was like a cartoon thing, right, you know? And it's not. People really wear those boots and those hats. That's just true. I had no idea. I'd never ridden a horse before. I don't think I'd ever touched a horse before. Right. And that also speaks to how sort of remarkable the wranglers are that work on our show, because they got me trained up. The wranglers and trainers got me trained up to ride in a matter of weeks. Not that I have to be good at it, but I at least have to be safe at it. And they at least got me to that point very quickly. Some really incredible horse trainers and wranglers and riders took me from Brooklyn to Montana in just a couple of weeks, which was really remarkable.
In season 2, Jimmy goes through some big changes. Between losing his grandfather and some old friends, Yellowstone is really all he has left.
Yeah, it feels like the last sort of tie to his old life is cut, both with the passing of his grandfather and with the sort of murder of these people who were his friends for a long time, were sort of his, in a sad way, kind of his closest allies for a long time. And so it represents, as the sort of seed of Jimmy's
relationship with the Yellowstone and with this new lifestyle sort of slowly grows. This represents like chopping down all the other trees, you know? So now all Jimmy really has is this new life, which is scary, but also represents an opportunity for so much growth, I think, and represents an opportunity to start fresh. And it's sad that sometimes you have to cut down or burn down an old life to move into a new one. But I also think it's a beautiful sort of opportunity to start over, you know?
What else would you like people to know about Yellowstone?
Can I just say one thing about Yellowstone really quick? I think that there's like, it's an amazing show. The cast is incredible. The creative team is incredible. But this year in particular, I've sort of been made increasingly aware of how like the show exists because the crew is so remarkable. Like the crew works crazy hours in truly nutso circumstances. Like every time we're out like cowboying and like pretending to live this sort of rugged lifestyle in the middle of nowhere, the crew is really living it. Like the crew is up before us, they're there after we are. They are working unbelievable hours in very difficult circumstances, and the show is what it is because of their work. And especially in the third season now, like that represents 3 years of dedication and like truly awe-inspiring like rigor and effort and labor by that incredibly dedicated group of people. So like it's nuts. And I think especially because we're on the third season of this now, I feel close to so much of this crew, and like so many of the crew are like my best friends out here on this job, and so it increasingly like makes it easier and easier to understand exactly sort of what they're going through and the work that they put into it, which is like, that is like an inspiration. You know, I think that any day that I'm feeling sort of like, oh, I'm pretty tired, or oh, I'm pretty hungry, like I look around and it's like a reminder of like, you know, how lucky we are to be supported by the work of such an incredible crew, you know?
Photography has recently become a passion of yours. What created your interest?
Yeah, I love photography, and I wanted to talk about it specifically because like I started doing it on Yellowstone. Like the second season of Yellowstone is when I started shooting film, and it's in part because so many of the incredible crew members and the Utah local crew shoot on film, and so it became this sort of this really neat community for me where it was like I was learning to do something and then sort of could talk to folks on the crew and like get input and learn so much. So it's been a way that I can sort of. There's like a fun little micro community within the crew of folks that shoot film and like incredible photographers in our crew. People who aren't even in the camera department who are like incredible photographers and are really remarkable, and I've learned so much from. And it's also like, it's an amazing thing. Like I think it's an incredible way, like a lot of being an actor on set is waiting. It's waiting as everybody else works really hard and like makes the next setup or sort of moves lights and like trucks come and go, and there's a lot of downtime in between setups. And it's an opportunity to sort of stay creative in that downtime and sort of try to stay, rather than like retreating into my phone, which I also do a lot. So that's certainly just, I'm saying that more like aspirationally to myself to try to stay creative in between takes. It's a way to sort of stay engaged with the other actors, and it's a way to sort of participate in the show creatively beyond the parameters of just acting in it. And then from like sort of starting shooting analog photography on the set of Yellowstone, it's become sort of a real joy and a hobby in my life, especially as I sort of travel so much and live in two dramatically different environments. That's like two environments that have sort of dramatically different opportunities for a photographer to sort of take advantage of. So I've really enjoyed it, and it's been sort of like medicine for my soul as I navigate the loneliness of being away from my friends and family for so long.
Outside of acting, how do you stay involved in the film community?
I'll do a tiny little plug. I have a tiny little film production company called Means of Productions. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/meansofproductions. And we basically are a film production company that's dedicated to like funding an ethical process. So like we pay a living wage to young artists to like learn how to do this stuff. So we have
basically a Patreon, which is like an ongoing crowdfunding platform that funds our company and lets us pay everyone on our sets a living wage, which in Brooklyn is $15.50 an hour, to like learn how to do stuff, basically. So we do work with a lot of like first-time screenwriters, a lot of actors who have a theater background but have never acted on camera before. And the sort of goal of the company is to pay artists to learn, because so often we prioritize the product. So often we want you to learn how to do it on your own and then come and give us the results of that process, the product, because so much of the industry is driven by money, by necessity. But what we want to do is fund a healthy process and pay artists a living wage to learn. And part of what that does is it also helps to dismantle like systemic financial privilege, which means that if you can afford to work for free and can afford to grow and develop for free, then you get to the point where you can sell the product that is your art. But if you can't, if you can't afford to work for free for years, you never have the space to sort of have that process and that growth, then your growth is stymied as an artist. So our goal is to pay people to learn, to pay people for that process, to sort of remove some of the financial barriers to the arts, because we need everybody's perspective. Like the arts is about having everybody's unique perspective, and if we're just getting it from folks who have the financial privilege to have an unpaid process, then what we're seeing is actually very limited.